Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday Night Q&A. I am Nicole Fike, and I am here with Pastors Eric and Pastors Kelly, and we are here to discuss Kelly's awesome sermon that she preached yesterday. The title of that sermon was Walk With Me, and she preached on Mark chapter 8, verses 31 through 38. And so I'm just going to read that for us before we get the conversation started. All right. He then began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter. "Get behind me, Satan," he said. "You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." Then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world yet forfeit his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in his Father's glory with holy angels." The word of God for the people of God.
Praise be to God.
Yes. Praise be to God. Okay, so we don't have any questions online yet, but I will give everybody a chance to chime in.
So I got messaged a question, and it was, how can one help others see the image of God in all people, regardless of skin tone, when they were raised in a time that segregation was a thing? Oh, there we go. There it is.
Well,
Mm.
Can I go?
Yeah, please.
Oh,
Please.
okay. All right. That is a question that I have been asked, that I have discussed time and time again. And I'm gonna paint this picture to you this way. And it's the same question that was asked. Some people have been raised a certain way, and not knowingly that way is, or that way has a racist tone of their raising. Now, I have come to accept that even though that way, I talk, and I'm gonna give you an example. It's this guy that I talk to, and I tell him, and I don't believe that he's a racist. I really don't. I just believe that he was raised with a tone that gives off racist vibes. And one has to be very, very careful to split the hairs, so to speak, because I know a lot of times we can say, well, that's racist. And I'm gonna tell you, I used to be the one that played the race card with everything, until I heard a message one day that really made me think, is that really racist? Or is that person really racist? Or is that the way that they was raised? Because a lot of times people only act according to how they was raised. And they really don't know that they're acting out racist tones. And then and then they put the shoe on my foot because I used to use I don't think it's right for me to use the word, but I used to use the C word all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I used to use that word all the time. I didn't think that was racist, but and by God knows that I'm not racist, but I used to use that word to describe a set of people, our European brothers and sisters, but then it was flipped on me to say, well, how do you think they feel you using that word, you know, and the person said, well, I don't believe you're racist, but it was the way that I was raised. See, my mom raised me better than how I came out to be. Let me put it that way. And the streets taught me a whole different type of vibe. And once I got on my own, I got in the streets, and the streets began to raise me a total different way. So to answer that question, how can one help others see the image of God in all people, regardless of skin tone, when they were raised in a time of segregation was a thing? Now, to answer that particular question, and Pastor Beck said this some time ago, we literally, and this is what I had to do, not only in a race matter, but as well as in a theological matter, because I was raised up Pentecostal. So, and it was a lot of stuff I had to sit back and say, whoa, that's not right. But even though I was raised up Pentecostal, and there was a battle going on because that's the way I was raised. Now you're dealing with you telling me that I was wrong. Now you're picking at how I was raised. So I got an issue with that. But then I had to really realize to myself, okay, I got to look at what's right and look at what's wrong. Look at what God's word says and look at what the denomination of Pentecostalism says. So I had to look at what God's word says and look at how I was raised in the streets. So how we deal with that, we have to take away everything that we've learned and we have to reboot, or we have to relearn. I'm talking about everything. I had to relearn as far as theological point of view. I pretty much had to relearn all things over again. I believe that when you sin, you was going to hell. So and that's what I believe. I believe that a person could. I believe that time that a person could lose their salvation by the way they sin. That's what was in me, in my heart, in my mind. So that's what I had believed, and I didn't believe. I just didn't see that the shed blood of Jesus Christ covered them sins. Now that didn't give me the excuse to go out and to continue to sin. I'm not saying that, but it gave me a different view of God's grace. And when I did sin, I would go to him and say, Lord, I blew it, brush off and keep going. So we have to relearn, we have to reboot. And it's another word that Pastor used. I can't think about it. And I think it was reboot, because he used the illustration of starting over again with the video games. And I think it was reset. That's it. Thank you. And so that's what we have to do. We have to reset in those moments because it's very important. And I'm sorry to ramble off like that, but I just wanted to get that out.
Yeah. I kind of want to follow up on that, because I mean, obviously we dove right into the race conversation, which great, love it. But as a white person, how can I be a better ally? How can I help further this cause, of equity, of equality, of, anti-racism, without whitewashing the conversation? Am I making, how can I, as a white person, further this conversation in a way that isn't making it about anything it's not supposed to be?
Right. I think that well, let me ask this. That question is geared toward me, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
yes. Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because I know
Yeah, please bring it on.
I think the act or the approach need to be taken very cautiously, because a lot of people misunderstand, misinterpret when one tries to explain to them a situation, and they misunderstand it because of how they were raised.
Yeah.
They misunderstand it. And I'm gonna give you a point of view how you highlighted something yesterday that I was like, it was like a burden that has been on me that I've always thought really nobody understood. And when you hit that point yesterday, it was like a sigh of relief. When one says Black Lives Matter, okay, a lot of people they hit back. Well, white lives matter or blue lives matter. First of all, blue is not a color. Actually, white is not a color either, and black is not a color. But though we know what we're saying, and that's a whole nother subject, and we know what they mean by when they're saying that. But it's always a rebuttal. Instead of trying to understand what is really being said by the meaning, we're not saying that only white lives matter, or only black lives matter, or only blue lives matter. We're not saying that at all. But when one says that Black Lives Matter, it is basically saying that, the lives of Black people or brown people, some get really up in the air when you use the word black or brown. But when people of color are being killed and slaughtered, hold on. Hello? Yes. Leave it at the door, please. Yes, thank you. Hey.
Dinner?
That made me lose my train of thought. But when we speak about Black lives mattering, we're just saying that, hey, we and I'm speaking from experience now. When I remember when I first moved in Wildwood, when I first moved here, I was pulled over. I and I got it all on video. I think like 4 times in 3 days. 4 times in 3 days. And they thought, now take it, nobody knew me. When I say nobody, I'm talking about the law enforcement. They didn't know me. And at that time, I had a Range Rover, and they didn't know me. So they initially thought that I was a dope boy. They just moved in the hood. They see me riding through the hood and they see the truck. And so this is what was in their mind. So they pulled me over once, didn't find anything, pulled me over twice, didn't find anything. They pulled me over the third time. This time they pulled me over and I was pulling up in the yard. And I was driving 18-wheeler Riggs at that time. And he got really feisty with me. And then another time they followed me. I was making a U-turn, and I called up to the police department and was going to file a claim against them, a report against them. And so when I went up there, the other officer wasn't there. I think Lieutenant, he wasn't there, but the chief was, and he told me to come back. So I went to go get something to eat. And so where I had to go get something to eat at, I had to make a U-turn. And so when I made the U-turn, I seen the police that had been sweating me and bothering me. And when I made the U-turn, he thought I was making a U-turn to go back into the city of Wildwood, not knowing that I was going into the restaurant. So when I went up into the restaurant, I seen him pull up behind me. So we going around circles of the restaurant, just going around the circles. So I back up. Now, at this time, I have a full-blown attitude. I could have got killed because I jumped out of my truck. And I went over to him and I bammed on his window. He could have shot me. And I said, man, why are you bothering me? And this is his exact words. I got it all on video. Mm-hmm. He said, this isn't about you. And I'm like, well, what do you mean it is about me? And when I told him, I say, I wish y'all would leave me alone. And so at that time, I walked back to my vehicle and I sat there, my heart just pumping and pumping because I'm angry, I'm mad. And now I'm wondering, should I stay let me back up. My heart's pumping and I'm angry, I'm mad. And then the other guy, the one that's training him, he pulls up. And so now at this time, I'm wondering, should I go in the restaurant to eat or should I go back to the police station? Because I'm going to the police station on the two that I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I'm going back to the police station. So I pull out the parking lot. I put on my blanket because I'm making sure I do everything right. Seatbelt on, blanket on. They get behind me and pull me over again. So I pull over. And so one comes on the left side and one comes on the right. And he said, well, can I see your ID? I'm like, dude, why are you pulling me over? I said, I had my blanket on. No, you didn't. I say, oh, okay. It's that kind of game. Okay. I gave him my license. And so the other one that's training him, he's on my right, telling me, because he was asking me for, I gave him my registration, but I had my insurance card on the phone. He said, well, I want to see your insurance card. I said, well, it's on my phone. And he said, well, look for it. And so I was finna reach into my glove compartment and I say, oh no, buddy, you're not finna get me like that. Well, we need to see your registration. I got it on my phone. You either gonna see it on my phone or you gonna take me to jail, one of the two. Now I got all this on recording. Mm-hmm. And so at this time, he got a phone call, the one that was on the right-hand side. And I kind of think because the lieutenant passed when all this was going on, the lieutenant, the one that we was actually waiting on, me and the chief, he passed by and he said, well, this is me talking. This is not fact. This is just me talking. I believe that was told him who I was. This is no dope guy. This is Pastor Wilkins. Y'all need to back up off this guy. That's what I believe that was told him because whole attitude changed. He came up to the car and this is his exact words. Pastor, we're sorry. I never told him I was a pastor. And I seen a lieutenant pass by. Mm-hmm. And so he came up, gave me my license, and then I went to the police station and filed the report. They never messed with me again. So it was this thing that because I was black driving a Range Rover, I was I was falsely accused of being a drug dealer.
Mhm.
You know, so how did we even get on that? Y'all made me forget my train of thought.
Um, you were talking about the sermon yesterday. Black Lives Matter.
Right. Well, okay. Going back to Black Lives Matter. So this is where I'm saying I could have been shot all because I was a black man driving a luxury vehicle. This is how I'm thinking. Okay, these are the runs. And this is nothing that I'm proud about when I say this. I've had battles with police officers from my hometown. It's nothing that I'm proud about, but people always ask me, well, how do you know? But dude, I had police shooting at me, and it's by the grace of God that I'm not the one that was lying up under the white sheet. I got away. I literally had a police that arrested me some years ago, a Leesburg police officer. I forgot his name. My wife knows his name well. But he arrested me, and they tried to take my vehicle. They found some prescription pills in my vehicle, which were under my seat. The prescription pills belonged to a friend of ours, which I had picked them up from the hospital. The pills fell out of person. I never knew because actually they asked me about the pills and I never seen them. So they had been up under the seat for some time. And so he took one of my business cards, put the business card in my personal bag that I had with all my toothbrush, my clothing, and put the pills in there. And on paperwork now, he found the pills up under the seat, but he took one of my business cards, put that in my little baggie, put the pills in the bag. Like I say, all this is done on paperwork. And the reason why he did that, because he can stake claim to say that I was going to get it. But he put claim to state that it belongs to me. But that's why Black Lives Matter. Exactly why Black Lives Matter. Sorry to ramp on like that, but
no, I mean, it's stories like that. It's your experiences, and that's part of why I made sure to make a point to text you earlier. Like, this is the kind of stuff that needs to be talked about, not
right.
A white girl talking about
Y'all hold on one
trying
second.
to put my own spin on it because I don't have that experience.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, go.
I think that the main thing that we can do, Kelly, is to do our due diligence and learn as much as we can learn. You know what I mean? And not be quiet, not be silent, and speak out about the injustices that we see happening to our Black and brown brothers and sisters. And I mean, and take action. I mean, there's so many steps, Learning is the beginning of it, really. And we don't have too many. We have this other, and it says Facebook user, so we don't know who is saying this. But one of our,
I can see who it is.
oh, you can see who it is?
Yeah, just because I've got it in another tab.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's all the same.
It says, and how can one help one that has been traumatized by racists to see that not all white people are racist? I think that's a good
Yeah.
A good question, because yeah, I mean, I'm not racist, and um I was not raised racist. And I grew up in a just to give you a little bit of a background about me before we answer this question. I was raised in South Florida. Um, in the town I grew up in, I was surrounded by all cultures, all races.
What part of South Florida?
South of Miami, Homestead.
Okay.
Um, and so I went from the time I was in preschool till the time I was in started high school. I had friends, Latino friends. I had Black friends. I had Asian friends. I That's what I grew up with. I mean, so I moved to Georgia when I was 15, and that's when I experienced racism for the first time. Was really not until I was older. I knew it existed, but I didn't in our household that you loved everyone. That did not that was not allowed in our house. We were not raised in that mindset. Um, we just weren't. I mean, I had friends of all races, so I didn't understand. It was a huge culture shock for me when I moved to Georgia, and I finished high school here in Georgia, and the high school I went to, all white, all white, and I had a such a hard time. I had a major hard time. All white and all one side of the political party. I won't talk about politics right now, but I was raised I was raised one way, and I was stuck with the other on the other side, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. When I graduated from high school in Georgia, the only other race in that school, we had one Asian person, and that was it, besides white folks. I couldn't believe it. And like, I just couldn't believe it. But anyway, so I love everyone. I was raised to love everyone. I am angry about what has happened um, in our country over the past year. And I am here to learn also. So our friend asked us, and how can one help one that has been traumatized by racist to see that not all white people are racist?
I think to continue being who you are. Don't try to over explain that you're not racist, because I've learned to find out that when you try to over explain that you're not racist, even though you may not be, it sends up antennas to those who you're trying to explain it to. But just continue being the way that you are. Continue um, loving that individual. Some people you're not going to win over. I've just come to accept that fact. Jesus didn't win over everybody, you know. So I've come to accept the fact that some people you're not going to win over. Some people are just that way. I've seen it on both sides of the fence. I've seen people of color who are racist. I've seen people of non-color who are racist. And I went to a all-black school in Atlanta, Georgia. So I know what you was going to. I went to Murphy High School in Atlanta, Georgia. So, and the only white person that was there was the principal secretary. That was the only white person that was there in that school. And we had some teachers. I forgot her name, but I never forget her. She was my English teacher. She taught us to respect everybody. But we had this one guy, which was our social studies teacher. He was a black militant, man. He was angry, and he would teach his anger. He would teach his anger through the lesson. And so my parents didn't raise me that way. I kind of figured that something was wrong with that. But yet, when I fell to the streets, I was like a sponge. So all of that stuff, I soaked in, and all of my problems was because of the white man, and I just led to that, and then I got involved with the Nation of Islam. I don't know if you guys know anything about the Nation of Islam, but the Nation of Islam is a black Muslim. I call them a fraternity, but they're a black Muslim group led by Farrakhan. Now Farrakhan speaks some good stuff, but I totally disagree with his theology. He speaks a lot of good stuff concerning black people. But like I said, I totally disagree with his theology. But back to the question, to that person, yes, there have been some black people that has really been traumatized um, by racists, and all I ask is that you continue to love them. And as I said before, some people are not winnable. And you have to really realize who and what you're dealing with when you're dealing with people. Don't be no fool for nobody, but continue to love them, and you can love people from a distance. You know, that's what I do when I find out people are racist. They're never going to change. I say, okay, well, that's the way you're going to be. That's the way you're going to be. Hey, I just love you from a distance because I got to love you regardless of how much you may hate me, hate the skin color that I dwell in. I still got to love you. But I'm just going to love you from a distance. You ain't got to speak to me. I ain't got to speak to you, but I still love you. And just move on. And that's the way life got to be sometimes. That's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Jesus did not sit there and dwell with them. Okay, well, you don't believe that I'm sent from the Father? That's you. I got other people in other sheepfold, and that's who I got to go to. So, and that's what he did.
Dust off your sandals, move to the next town.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes, amen. Kelly, what was that quote that you quoted in your
I
message?
gotta pull it back
But
up.
Eli, somebody,
Hazel.
yeah,
Hang on.
that was a good quote.
Oh, I gotta pull it back up. It was so good. All right, so he says, we must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of there's a good handful of his quotes that just like really speak to me. But this in particular, and I said it yesterday, I feel like I've been really guilty of that. I haven't been as vocal as I wanted to be, just partially out of fear of the way that other people would respond, but also I've been waiting so long to find the right words that I feel like I wasn't saying enough or any words. You know what I mean? Because, I don't want to mess it up, so I just hadn't done it at all. And like that message from yesterday, I had been sitting on that for well over a year. and I came across that scripture and was like, this is it. It was like
That's it.
Saturday afternoon. Josh and I were driving, and we were just having a conversation, and I was like, this is the message. This is what needs to be said tomorrow. Like, forget insecurities, forget, judgment. Like, we need to take up our cross. We need to have these uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, things are going to stay the way they are. And, we had a great talk about it yesterday after the message. Like, we all, I'm gonna throw us all under the bus real quick. We all had a nice little cry sesh, and I loved it. We need more of that.
Yeah. I really believe that we need more of that on both sides. I mean, you're going to get slack, and don't take me wrong when I say this, but you're going to get slack from your people, just as I got slack from my people from joining Wildwood United Methodist, a predominantly white church, because I was lead pastor where I was. We shut down everything, and I wanted to do this some years ago, but we got some kickback from it, and but we shut down everything, and then eventually, later on, I came over to Wildwood United Methodist, because we back then, when some things was going on, we was trying to, I guess, use the word integrate Wildwood United Methodist and Remnant Fellowship, which was the church that I was pastoring at the time, and we got kickback from it, but eventually God did what he wanted to do. It wasn't that the church needed to be there. I needed to be there. But I came for the reason, because I told Pastor Beck when I first came, I said, hey, look, man, I say, I'm not coming over here as a pastor. I'm coming over here as a layperson. And I just want to, right now, I just need to get this time to sit and to learn. Couple weeks go by, I need you to preach Sunday.
Yeah.
We don't know what that's about. We know none about that stuff. We haven't experienced any of that.
No, not into the text on Saturday saying, hey, I need you to preach tomorrow. Do that.
No,
Hey, speak of the
I wanted to say no, but at the same time, I said, okay, man, whatever you use me, and God did what he had to do, and he's been elevating me ever since. And I'm gonna tell you one, and this is one of the person, I forgot the other person's name, but I know it when I see it. But the one person that really drawed me there was Sandra. Sandra Worship. Man, when I used to come there to visit before I actually joined, when I used to come there to visit, and I was like, in my mind, who is this crazy white woman?
Oh,
she used to, I mean, the love, it was so genuine. And I was like, man, is she just acting like this? But the more I came, the more I found out that's who she was. She was just so genuine. And, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to be around, And then after fellowshipping with Pastor Beck for so long, and then everything just came together. And I say, man, and I called him up one Sunday. I said, hey, man, I said, I want to join. I want to join. And it had nothing to do with anything. It's just, that's where I needed to be.
Michael is saying hi to us, and he also said that Sandra is a spiritual matriarch of the Wild Ones.
Yes. Yes, she is. Yes, she
And
is.
Eric, I don't know if you saw it earlier, but Dorothy was saying thank you and that she's learning a lot from you.
Yeah, we always talk on Facebook. She has a beautiful soul, man, beautiful soul. And it's people like her, Dorothy, Sandra, and I can't think of the lady name that joined the lady that joined with me that day. I can't think of her name, but it's people like that when they love you, you feel it. And
Mm.
you know that it's real. It's nothing that they're putting on. It's real. And so back to the question that was given about the person that made asked the question about what to do to people who have been traumatized. And once again, I say to
Mm.
genuinely love them, and not all would accept that love. You know, um, some would be just like I was. Is this real or is this a put on? But Sandra didn't stop there. She just kept on loving me. Every time she see me, she would hug me. And I'm like, okay, she would hug me. Every time I come there, she would hug me, and just no matter what. And you could just feel the sincereness of it. You could
Mm.
feel it means. I can go on and on about that, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Well, I had the same experience. I haven't met any of you in person, but from seeing you guys through Zoom and online, and I had the same experience with Sandra and with Miss Lana. I love Miss Lana.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, I hope to see you guys in person one day.
Yeah, I know, right?
Got a
Coronavirus, be gone.
big old hug coming your way. Joe is
Like, man, like one of these days, I would love to have these kind of conversations around a table.
Mm.
Really just like break bread together and pour out our lives because, like, same as you, Nicole, I haven't met much of the group in person, but like I've got so much love for you guys. I love y'all so much, and it's
Man, love you too, Chris.
yeah, love you too. Hmm. Well, Jill is joining us online, and her comments aren't showing up in StreamYard, but she is saying authenticity. That's what she's talking about. Authenticity. That is for sure.
Yeah, realness.
Yes.
Jill, how are you feeling?
Yes. All right, guys. Well, do you have anything else? I don't have anything else. So, anything else you want to share?
Just a lot of love. That's how I'm feeling. How is it with your soul, you guys?
You say it again?
How is it with your soul?
Oh, well, I'm just overjoyed. I tell you, yesterday, and I say this again. I know I told you yesterday after, because I was emotional. After we went offline, but I say this again. You said what millions have been wanting to say. What was on the hearts of many, and I want to thank you again for allowing God to use you to say every word that you said, every word that you spoke. I want to thank you for allowing God to use you. Some people may not have received it, but a lot of them did. You and like I say, you're not going to win every soul. You're not going to win everybody. That's the same thing with Jesus. I mean, we look at what happened to him, A lot of people didn't understand Christ until he was on the cross and he was dying, until they actually seen the darkness. The darkness was so dark that it was able to be felt. So a lot of people are not going to be able to see what is being said by the true prophet of God, whether a prophetess or prophet, until the prophet or prophetess is dead and gone. And we look at what the prophets have been speaking about through history, and they were never received until they was dead and gone. Then they'll say, "Oh, that's what he meant."
Yeah.
So, so just continue to speak truth.
It's amazing how much good could happen if we started listening to people while they're still around.
Right.
We could really tap into that and work together and like make things happen instead of just, oh wow, this person was so great.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Only somebody realized,
I know, right?
Man.
I see a Jill comment.
Yeah, she said, thank you everyone for their prayers. It's an up and down battle with this virus.
Yeah, that's what Tracy says. The same thing. It's up and down. It's up and down. No. But we definitely praying for you, Pastor.
Right. Amen.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I think it might be time to say goodbye.
It might be time for me to eat right now,
That's
right?
right. You got your dinner.
Staring at my dinner right now, like.
All right. Well, I will shut us down here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us online. And we look forward to doing it again, right?
That's right.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.